Hi, I'm Elly Taylor, author of the book Becoming Us, and I'd like to share my story with you. Parenthood used to be considered a rite of passage, and I think that's even more true now, but we have much less support and guidance through the Rite. So a rite of passage has three main phases, and the first phase is letting go of the old way of life. Parents don't do that these days. They often try and rush to get back to normal, whatever normal is. And in doing so, I think they put an awful lot of stress on themselves and on their new family. So that's the first stage. The second phase is facing the fear of the unknown and of the changes. And we certainly don't prepare parents for that. We tend to take a fairly shallow and materialistic view of what parenthood might mean for parents, and we don't give them the richness and the depth and the foundation and the safety and the security to be able to do that work. And then the third stage is emerging with new sense of identity and new responsibilities. And in our society, it's often quite a negative one. You know, mothers often take a dive in terms of their social status once they become parents, whereas in previous societies they were elevated, they were revered, for their role in nurturing and giving life and continuity and creating a new generation of people. It was a really respected role, and unfortunately that's just not true in our society, in our culture, and that's such a huge shock for some mothers, and it's really sad. And why I say it's even more of a rite of passage for these parents these days is that the changes are so incredibly vast. In older cultures, both the mother and the father would be, adopted by the community and nurtured by the community. Mothers would receive wisdom and support and advice, leading up to the baby, and then usually for 40 days or so afterwards, they would be mothered by the mothers. And all the responsibilities would be shared by the mothers of the community, so that mum could just rest and recuperate and nurture her infant and bond with her infant and not have to do anything else as she was nurtured. So she had that modelled for her. She was being mothered as she was mothering. And the dads, would be out working in the fields and getting advice and sharing a laugh and talking about his woes with his, brothers and uncles and grandparents and extended family. And so he had support too for his role and advice for his role. And we just don't have that now. But we desperately need it, because I found in my research that having a baby in today's culture is such a big change. It pulls apart the structure of a couple's relationship. It tips them into a new life stage as individuals and a new relationship stage as a couple. It disrupts the sense of the balance of power between them. Before baby, most couples are fairly evenly matched. They both work, they both earn a wage, there's usually joint decision making. But after baby comes, for a while, mum traditionally is dependent on the dad for support, and he might not be used to being the supporter. So that's, a big change for them. I found that parenthood has an effect on identity and self-esteem, but it's not necessarily a positive effect. Mothers can lose a lot of power in society, and they can lose self-esteem when they go from a work environment that is rewarding, that gives tangible rewards, to an environment that doesn't give tangible rewards. I say nobody gives a bottle of champagne for superior diaper changing or anything like that. And so mum's self-esteem can take a real dive, and we either need to prepare mums for that or need to support them through it so that doesn't happen. The other big changes I found is that parenthood involves multiple transformations. It's not just a physical transformation, but it's a mental transformation. There's so much cognitive dissonance between, say with breastfeeding, feeling that it's nurturing your child, but it also can cost you in some ways, or feeling that you love your partner, but they're driving you crazy at the same time. It's an emotional transformation. The highs are high, the lows are lower, and it's everything in between. It is such a stretch emotionally. It's a spiritual transformation for a lot of people. They're introduced to a new sense of self. For some who maybe have had a traumatic birth, it can really, question their faith, or it can strengthen their faith. And this means that there's a whole lot of stuff going on inside both mums and dads or partners in same-sex relationships that it's really hard for them to put words to, and it's really hard for them to voice to their partner. And that can create a sense of disconnection between them. When we've got a whole lot of stuff going on inside of us that we can't share with our partner, and the same for our partner, they've got a whole lot of stuff going on inside of them too that they might have trouble putting words to and voicing to us. And so this is often the beginning of a disconnection. And so we need to be able to facilitate this rite of passage for both mums and for dads and for partners, so that it can bring them together. I mean, that's the whole purpose of parenthood, isn't it? To bring couples together. And so to recognise and revere and respect it, as a massive transformation, and to equip couples with the awareness and the skills and the ability to be able to grow through all these transformations, to be able to share it with each other so that they can bond and connect, because it's the bonding and the connection between them that is then the foundation for their family.